Insatiable. When you woke up this morning, did you purposely say, I'm going to confine myself to a box? Or do you just avoid putting any conscious thought into today? When you're busy going at it, literally or figuratively, do you ever find yourself pausing for a moment to realize what's going on? Or are you just reacting? When you hear the saying, "May I have your attention, please," do you continue as you were, or do you consider the information you're about to receive might actually be valuable? When I was growing up, my mother used to ask me to do things, and sometimes her reasoning was, because I said so. Looking back, I wish perhaps I took the time to pause, think, and consider the ramifications of my choices. Good Monday to you. Today is Monday, September 19, 2016. This is episode number 6 of Pause, Think, Consider. Hope everyone had a great weekend. I appreciate everybody coming back for week number 2 of the podcast, Pause, Think, Consider. For those of you that have enjoyed what we've done so far, I ask you please go on to iTunes, give us a rating, give some feedback so that other individuals can find us. Today's episode is about the cause and effect of communication. For all information on this topic, you can visit our website, pausethinkconsider.com/respond. The cause and effect of communication. It's my belief that we have become so saturated with the number of contacts that we have within our Rolodex, within the number of emails we get, the phone calls, the texts, the tweets, the likes, etc., that we cannot take the time to respond anymore. In trying to figure out why, and in scratching my head as to why, I went and performed a social experiment. As I've mentioned on the program before, I've gone through back-to-back unemployment spans, being let go from 2 different jobs. So I did this experiment after I was let go from job number 1, and I've done this experiment now after I was let go from job number 2. So to give you some stats as far as this social experiment went, when I was let go, this was in May from my previous job. I sent a message. It was primarily on LinkedIn. A couple of emails, but primarily on LinkedIn. As I described before, LinkedIn is my main source of business contacts. I don't leverage Facebook. I'm not going to go through Facebook in order to seek advice or potentially employment. So LinkedIn primarily, and a few emails. So to give you the stats of this experiment, I sent out 44 unique messages. 44 messages to 44 unique individuals. Of those 44 people, 21 replied. So a little less than 50%. 21 replied. And these, for this particular experiment, these are all people that I know. These are people that are in my circle. How well are they? Family friend? Are they very close family friend members? Not necessarily. Some of these people I haven't talked to in a year, potentially even longer. But 44 individuals got a message. And essentially what this message said was, "Hey, this is Jesse Liebman. Haven't talked to you in a while. Wanted to know first and foremost how you're doing and what you're up to." That's it. This is Jesse reaching out to you, wanting to know how you're doing and what you're up to. Out of the 44 people that received that, 21 actually took the time to reply. out of those 21 people that replied, 8 of them, I actually had more. I had more of a back and forth conversation with them. When I say a back and forth conversation, some of these people that replied simply said, "Oh, I'm doing great. Thanks." Eight of the 21 I physically had a conversation with. The other individuals, thanks, doing great. Now, of the 44 people, another interesting statistic, because if you haven't noticed, we are all being tracked. There's a lot of conspiracy theories out there as to what degree we're being tracked, but you can quite literally find out just about any information about anything on any individual, especially if you're logged in. And on LinkedIn, there are 2 different ways. So this number may not be a true representation. It might actually be higher. But you can physically see, based on settings, if you're logged in, there is a way to go essentially incognito or to view anonymously. But you can see when a specific individual has looked at your profile, essentially read the message you sent and looked at your profile. So as I mentioned, 44 people message sent, 21 physically took the time to reply, a little less than 50%. About a quarter of them actually replied. And then out of the 44, of that percentage of that 50% that didn't reply, that other 50% that didn't reply, at least a quarter of them physically read the message, came and looked at my profile, and chose not to respond. I think that is the baffling thing to me. To physically receive the message, go and check out and see what it is that I'm doing, and then not to respond. So that was experiment number 1. Again, 44 messages, 21 replies, 8 with an actual conversation, and 8 individuals that looked but didn't respond. The second experiment, which happened at the end of August when I was let go from job number 2, this was strictly email-based. Strictly email. 22 emails were sent out, and it was a much different tenure with these emails than with the first experiment. The first experiment was simply, hey, haven't talked to you in a while, want to know how you're doing. The second one, I went much further. It was, and full transparency, in comparison to the first experiment, all of those people were people that I knew. And this second experiment, it was about 50-50. It was about 50-50 in terms of the number of people that I actually knew and had had a conversation with versus people I had never met before in my life. Now, some of these people I was connected with on LinkedIn, still had never had a conversation. And as you know, if you're a part of LinkedIn, almost on a daily to weekly basis, you will get invites. We get this on Facebook too. You will get an invite for somebody trying to connect with you or somebody trying to be your friend. So some of these people, about 50-50, were people that I actually knew had had a conversation with. And it was a very different message. This message was, here is how we know each other. Hey, this is Jesse, and we're connected on LinkedIn. Or we work together at such and such organization, and it's been a while. Or we've never met each other before, but I discovered you by X, Y, and Z. Here's my story. I recently lost my job. Here's the position I'm in, blah, 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 blah. Here's what I've learned. I've learned that when instead of sitting down and feeling sorry for yourself, that the best way is to take the bull by the horns and to help somebody else in need. Not seek help from other individuals, but to help other people when it is you, the one that is in need of something. And so, in having this self-awareness, I want to surround myself. We talked about squad on Friday. We talked about self-awareness last Tuesday. So I had this self-awareness that I needed to surround myself by the right people. So I said in my message, I am looking to surround myself with people, with individuals that I want to be around that are doing things that are cool. And so I am reaching out to you to see if there's anything that I can do to help. No matter how small, no matter how meaningless it is, anything I can do to help. I'm sure you have a great team. I'm sure you've got everything covered. But if there is anything, please do not hesitate. So to recap, my name's with this email experiment. My name, how we know each other, lost my job, I want to help you, I will do anything, please let me know how I can help you. And again, this was 50-50, so about 11 of the 22 people I knew, 11 of the 22 I didn't know. Out of that, 8 responses. And the amazing thing about it was over 50% of those were people I had never met before in my life. So in comparison to the first experiment, 44 messages, 21 replies, 8 actual conversations by 100% people I know, compared to 22 emails and 8 responses, over 50% of which were people that I did not know. It's incredible. It really is amazing to me, those numbers. And I bring up those numbers to talk about the cause and effect of communication. As I said to start today's episode, we have become so saturated with the number of contacts and communication that we receive on a daily basis that we cannot even take the time to respond anymore. So the question that I pose is, why don't we respond? This is my personal opinion. I believe it comes down to 2 different things as to why we choose not to respond. Number 1, what's in it for us? As I said, we're in a society that is inundated with information. Family members, coworkers, friends, and everyone else in the world is biting and bidding for our attention. And if we're taking the approach just like we are with our squad or our circle, when it comes to communication, we are the founder of who ultimately gets our attention. And so I believe that we don't respond because we are evaluating and trying to determine what is in it for us. There's a couple different things that go with that as to that evaluation of what's in it for us. The first thing is we're all busy. Everyone's busy. I remember I worked for a buddy straight out of college. We did some SEO work. He was the first person that really taught me about digital marketing. And he used to always have the saying, Jesse, I am so busy, I don't even have the time to wipe my own ass. And I genuinely believed him. In fact, it sounds like a real epidemic. And I think there's a lot of people out there. I personally believe there's a lot of people that are so busy, they genuinely might not have enough time to wipe their own ass, figuratively or literally speaking. So if you are that busy, you have to figure out who it is that you're actually going to respond to. So then we go to the next step. What is that person asking for? In the example that I gave, the two different social experiments, number one was, how are you? What are you up to? I want to hear about you. So if we're taking and we're evaluating, we know that we're already busy. We can't wipe our own ass. What's in it for us? What is this person asking for? They want to know about me. Well, if I'm looking across the table, this is Jesse Liebman asking me, how am I? What am I actually going to get from him by telling him? For some people, obviously more than half, they decided I'm going to get absolutely nothing from him. I'm not even going to get any satisfaction. I'm not even going to give him the decency of telling him, I am freaking fantastic. Thank you for asking. No, that is not even worth my time. I'm going to get nothing, no satisfaction from telling him anything about myself. The other thing, which I think comes hand in hand with how well you know somebody. And as I mentioned, the second experiment that I did, about 50% of the 22 people that I physically emailed were people that I knew. So I actually went in with the expectation that I wasn't going to get very many responses from these people. And I believe in the evaluation of what's in it for us, that if you don't know the person and we're evaluating what's in it for us and you're busy, you are much less likely to respond than to somebody that you know. It's my personal belief. I know there's other people that might believe the other side of the coin, of that I'm going to respond to somebody that I don't know because I don't know what the opportunity is. I don't know what this person can actually provide me, versus somebody like a family member or a close friend. They're going to understand if I'm a shithead and I don't get back to them for a month. They're going to be understand. They're a part of my circle. They're going to be compassionate by the fact that they know I am so damn busy, I can't get back to them. So I think there's that flip side. There's either side of the coin. And with the experiment, the second experiment, that might hold true. That theory of responding to somebody that you don't know might actually hold true. Probably not enough data in order to make that assumption, but in the 22 individuals, over 50% of those that responded being people that I did not know, that small extrapolation of data shows that might be true. And the last part, I think, as to when we're evaluating what's into it for us, is we make some assumptions. I believe we make the assumption that if I don't respond to this individual, I already have somebody in my squad, I already have somebody in my stable, my circle, that is going to have my back, that is going to fulfill anything that this individual has. Right? We're very protective of our time. We're very protective of our circle, of our squad. And so if we already believe that we have everything we need to, we're being extremely focused and we're being diligent because we know how freaking busy we are on a day in, day out basis, that if we are looking, if we've done that self-awareness, that evaluation of our squad, and we realize we are missing a component of that, or we are looking to upgrade that component, we're just being open-minded that there might be another idea, another perspective, and we are open to having that, I believe you're going to be more likely to respond. Versus somebody that believes, I've got everything that I need. I don't need anything else. You are essentially, you're rolling the dice that you know that you have everything you possibly need and that you know best. And so I believe we don't respond because we're trying to evaluate what's in it for us. We're busy. We're evaluating what that person's asking for, what's really in it for us. We may or may not know them. And then we make the assumption, if our crew, if our squad, if our circle is in the manner that we already need it and want it, then it's not worth our time. The second component to why I personally believe we don't respond is we are so saturated with information in our society that it prevents us from responding. And there's a couple caveats with this. Because of the oversaturation of information, which is a blessing, it's a blessing and a curse at the same time. It's a blessing because we literally have at our fingertips any and everything we could ever want to know with a click of a button. But it's a curse in that we are inundated. And as I mentioned before, with being the CEO of your attention, we are constantly having to decide what gets our time. What are we signing off on that gets our time? And so, as a way to try and filter, or as a way to determine what is the most important thing, we've got our focus, we've got our dreams, we've got our goals. How can we focus and ensure we stay on that path? So we set up filters. The best example I can give, if people use Gmail out there, it's the top email platform. So I'm going to make the assumption that most people are familiar with Gmail and their email platform. But they have, and as an email marketer, it's a huge pain in the ass in order to try and get your message through. Because they have one of the most stringent filters there is out there on the market. They have your primary inbox, and then they have promotions, and then they have updates, and then they have forums. And only certain specific things actually get the primary tab, if you will. These are the most important messages that you get. And there's some important messages that go into promotions or into updates. And as a business marketer, this is one of the most frustrating things you possibly can go through, because you literally invest thousands of dollars and hundreds of hours strategizing and putting together your email marketing campaign. And the reality is the majority of people will never see it. The majority is most people won't see your campaign. And the same goes for personal emails. The same goes for personal emails. People that, and I'm not one of them, but I do know people, and I've seen the screenshots out there, of people getting quite literally thousands of emails per day. You have to. You have to. If I was getting thousands of emails per day, I would set up filters as well. I have folders, and I probably wouldn't check everyone. And I've noticed in just putting together this podcast, the distractions that come, and how I am not the most efficient person possible in the creation of each and every episode. That's because I get distracted. I'm not able to filter and put aside the information that allows me to be creative and to be as efficient as possible. So you have to set up filters. Some people have so many different things that they're doing that they have assistants. They're of importance, or they have so many things going on that they have assistants. And so assistants are now the filtering barrier. And they might even have a filter on top of that to help their lives, to be able to filter just the most important information possible to you. If you don't have an assistant, if you don't have any filters, it's quite possible the information might be buried. And just like with the person that is tailing me as I'm driving, that is right up my tailpipe, and having that perspective that my mother uses, that person might have a bleeding child in the back and they are in an emergency and have to get there. I have a little bit of compassion for individuals in which they say, oh my gosh, Jesse, I am so sorry I didn't get back to you. The email was just buried. You know what? I get it. I do. I actually buy it. And maybe that's because I give people the benefit of the doubt. But It happens. It happens. It gets buried at the bottom. The other thing is we only have so much time. It's 1,440 minutes in a day, 24 hours. There's only so much in a day. And you have to prioritize. You have to prioritize. And so even if you're somebody that gets 2,500 emails in a day, it's probably not possible, even if you spent an entire day only looking at emails. There's only 1,440 minutes. And you've got 2,500 emails. That's less than 30 seconds per email. Not possible. Not possible to actually be thoughtful, to be present, to be in the moment, to give that individual their due diligence and the time that they deserve. There's only so much time. And because we are so bombarded with information, sometimes we just forget. Sometimes we just forget that we haven't prioritized it. We haven't written it down. We've got so many things that are going on in our lives that we just simply forget. And I personally have a hard time with that. I really do. It's something I really, really pride myself on. I really work on to have that memory. My father's one that has instilled this in me. And his memory is even better than mine. We used to have we'll just call him a leader of this group. And he quite literally, of 330 members, he knew every single individual's name. Every single individual's name. It was incredible. It was incredible. But he was like an elephant. If you haven't heard that saying, I'll post it on the website, pausethinkconsider.com/respond. But having a memory like an elephant, somebody that does not forget. So I have a hard time with forgetting. I really do. I know, and I'm going to call her out, and she knows that my mother is a bit on the forgetful side. Doesn't matter whether it's pickleball that we're playing together and she doesn't know the score that we've announced for the past 12 points, or that I physically had a conversation with her, told her this is what I am doing, and then I repeatedly get the question over and over. I used to have to write everything on the calendar so she knew exactly where I was on exactly what day of every single day of the week. And yet every morning I would be asked, so what are you doing today? It's like nails on a chalkboard. A little bit of a hard time with we forget, or I am forgetful. Write it down. Put it on a piece of paper. Do something. It's like a muscle. Your memory is like a muscle. If you don't use it, if you don't exercise it, you will lose it. Alzheimer's, it's a reality. Use your brain, damn it. So in communication overload, we're saturated. My personal opinion, 2 reasons why we don't respond: because we're evaluating what's in it for us, and we are saturated with information. So what is it that we can do? How can we become better? How can we be more responsive? How can we ensure that we're getting back to people? A couple of outside perspectives. Good articles, I think, were worth reading. Actually, I don't think. You should go read them. One's on time.com, just simple communication tips. BusinessInsider.com, 5 simple habits that will make you a better communicator. And Inc.com, 5 super successful ways to be a great communicator. May or may not be relevant, but I'll post them on the website, pausethinkconsider.com/respond. You can go check them out. It's a different perspective than mine, but here is what I personally believe we can do. I think it's 3 different things. And the first one being if necessary, set boundaries and expectations. If necessary, set boundaries and expectations. If you are somebody that gets the 2,500 emails per day, you have to set boundaries and expectations. The best example that I've personally seen, and I've talked about this individual quite a bit, but it's because of how efficient he is and how he is just able to, on a day in, day out basis, get as much humanly possible done as he can. Extreme, like uber productive individual, Tim Ferriss. And I will link to it on the website. He has, if you go to his contact page, he sets the expectations and the boundaries for contacting him. He says, number one, I am no longer doing book blurbs or endorsements. I'm afraid the sheer volume is just unimaginable. And then sends a photo of here's one day's mail. And it's impressive. Number two, please realize that my assistants get more than 2,000 emails per week. Yes, that means that they read everything that comes in, but often we cannot respond to each email. Thank you for understanding, blah, 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 blah. Number three, I'm not doing one-on-one training or coaching at this time, unless there's a budget with 5 to 7 zeros before the decimal point. Unfortunately, until 15 minutes of fame are up, the Dubai-like pricing is necessary to reduce the number of inquiries. My sincerest apologies that I cannot do more. I encourage you to post your questions on this blog as comments, as the collective is smarter than I'll ever be. Some might think he's being a little pompous. Some might think he's being a little egotistical, but I really respect him posting and setting those boundaries and those expectations. I think we have to have a little bit of self-awareness and set those boundaries and expectations personally. If you don't have a rule, if you don't have a guideline, establish one. Because if you don't have that rule or guideline set, then you're not going to be efficient. You're not going to be effective. You're not going to be productive. I want you to sit and think, do you actually have a guideline for responding to people? Do you have a personal guideline? My personal guideline, and I wish everyone had this guideline as well, because it drives me up a flipping wall when people don't respond to me. I'm understanding. I know, as I established before, why we don't respond. I understand people are trying to figure out what's in it for them, and they're inundated with information. But I don't think this is too much to ask. Whether you have assistants, whether you get 2,000 emails per week, what have you. I personally have the philosophy and the guideline for myself that I will respond within 24 hours somehow, some way. Even if it means replying back and saying, hey mom, really sorry, I am swamped. I'll get back to you within a couple days. Full transparency, I'm not very good at it. But I have a guideline. God damn it. I have a guideline. And it is what I strive to do. And there's days that I'm not good at it. There's weeks I'm not good at it. I actually just had both my sisters reached out and contacted me, said, I haven't heard from you in 2 weeks. I called you on your birthday. You didn't respond. I called you. You sent me a text, said, hey, I'm stupid busy. Let me respond. Like, I'm not following my own guideline. And they know, and they were concerned. They wanted to make sure everything was okay because they know that is what my guideline is. And I said, I am so sorry. I'm so sorry. I should have been better. I apologize. Fortunately, it's family. And because they love me, they will be understanding. But I know I need to be better. Reality check, a little bit of self-awareness. Hey, I'm not being on top of my personal guideline. I need to respond within 24 hours. And I wish if there was one thing that I could, I don't know if this is the end-all, be-all thing that I want to change about my circle and people that I come in contact with. It's pretty high up there. Pretty high up there. Honesty might be number one. People are just honest with each other. That might be number one. But in the top 5 is I wish people just responded. If they held to the same rule of within 24 hours, I'm not saying you have to respond to me in 5 minutes. I get it. Within 24 hours, one business day, you respond. Make some sort of response. Hey, man, I ate some bad crab meat and yeah. Sorry, Jess. When I can get up from the bowl, I will get back to you. But concentrating on not losing all control of everything. Hey, I would be cool with that. I would totally respect that. Jesse, I am going out of the... I actually got this from one of the people that responded. Hey, Jess, I am literally getting ready to board on the plane. I am going to Europe for a month. I'll reach out to you when I get back. Hope everything's well. Cool. Love it. Absolutely love it. Hey, go have a great time. I'm so jealous. Thank you for getting back to me. And I always say that whenever somebody responds back, thank you for responding. Positive affirmation, encouraging a positive behavior. So what can we do? We can, if necessary, set boundaries and expectations. Number 2, don't spread yourself so thin. And I've said this to a few people in my circle that I really care about, is only take on as much as you can handle. And I am guilty of this. As I mentioned, in high school, I was somebody that tried to do any and everything because I wanted to surround myself. I wanted to be a part of a circle. Wanted to have on my squad as many smart, friendly individuals that weren't going to kick my ass as possible. But it is a detriment. And it's a hindrance in terms of us being able to communicate and to be able to get back to people. So you look at the example that Tim Ferriss uses. No longer doing book blurbs or endorsements. I am not doing one-on-one training. He is cutting out some of the things that he quite frankly loved doing. If you've listened to his show, he loves doing endorsements. He loves doing the one-on-one training, being able to help and mentor and coach other people. But he knows that he is so busy. He's one of the individuals that might not be able, he probably has an invention that wipes his own ass. Individual that isn't able to do everything he wants to do. So he has to prioritize. He figures out this is the things that are going to get me towards my goal. So it keeps him from being spread too thin. And the third and final thing, golden rule of treat others how you want to be treated. And if there is one thing, if I have any of the individuals that I sent a message to, especially the ones that looked at my damn profile and didn't respond, treat others as you want to be treated. How would you like it if you reached out to somebody, were compassionate, were genuine, were honest? You put yourself out on an island and the other individual didn't even take the time to respond. Even if you responded negatively or responded in a manner in which, no, there is nothing you can help me. Or maybe even responds, I hate your guts. That would be better. At least I know we've set the expectations. You know what? Okay, I'll take you off the list of people that I can contact. I will not waste your time or my time. Great, we've established that. But to not respond, man, that is one of the ultimate, I think it comes down to respect. It's just disrespectful. When you tell me you are going to send me something and 2 weeks later I have to email you saying, hey, I don't know, was it my spam filter? It's not. Or was it that you didn't actually send it. It is. Or maybe you've moved on. It is. In fact, I have to chase after you, and then yeah, sorry, bro. We should have we moved on. Oh, cool. Yeah. Okay. So what if I didn't take the 30 seconds to actually reach out to you, to joggle that brain of yours to say, oh, by the way, remember you said you were going to do something and you didn't? Yeah. Can you do it? Treat others as you want to be treated. I think if we do those three things, set boundaries, expectations, don't spread yourself too thin, and treat others as you want to be treated, we will be much more effective. We will be much more understanding. We will honor and respect the people that have the courage and take the time to reach out to us on a daily, weekly, annual, what have you basis. And we will just be a so much better society. So, to recap, we've been incredibly saturated with the number of connections, the number of contacts we have, and the being inundated with information overload, communication overload that we can't even take the time to respond anymore. Give the example of the social experiment, sending out various number of messages to people I knew, people I didn't know, with a pitiful response record. And my personal belief is that we don't respond because we're evaluating what's in it for us, and also recognizing we're inundated with information in our society. So there's various reasons, like we don't see it, our assistants don't see it, it's buried, we only have so much time, or we forget. And so in order to be better, in order to get past the what's in it for us, my personal suggestions, again, there's 3 different articles. If you don't like my suggestions, there's time.com, Business Insider, and Inc. All have suggestions on how to be a better communicator. But my personal suggestions, if necessary, set boundaries, expectations. Don't spread yourself so thin, and treat others how you want to be treated. And I believe if we do that, we will be a much happier, much less stress. Blood pressures will reduce across the world if we honor and respect each other in that way. I want to thank you all for listening today. Please check out the website at pausethinkconsider.com/respond for all information, the links, individuals that I shared in this episode. And please don't forget to go onto iTunes, subscribe. Please give us a rating, give us some feedback. Let us know, let the rest of the world know what you think of Pause, Think, Consider, good, bad, or indifferent. And I look forward to talking to you all tomorrow on Pause, Think, Consider.